Football is mother of all games.
It is a team sport.
The leadership attitude is taking the ownership.
It's always a big responsibility to take decisions and the right decisions.
I always question the stereotypical.
And that's why you are in that position.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
We are trying a lot of experiments, innovations and ideas.
We came out with a new format in audio, which is audio series.
Listening for content-oriented company in India, which is a very unique proposition.
When we look at audio in general, we had music, which is like extremely old format, and then we had podcast.
A natural extension to Pocket FM is to move from Hindi to regional content. I think I'd love to see their FY24 numbers, which they claim will be close to 1,000 crores. I think there are talks of them to raise another $80 to $100 million of funding.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
For the very first time in our investigation, we unmasked the killer of Ravindra Matre.
In 5G, we have to stand with the world, and in 6G, we have to lead the world.
Winning a Grammy was an absolutely surreal experience.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more. Streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
It's probably the best kept secret in India.
Family-owned business, which has been extremely clinical in their approach. They have not hesitated ever to kill their darlings.
Typical to a South Indian business empire, I think they've shunned the limelight, almost deliberately.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
As a Telangana person, I will not accept.
How do ordinary folks deal with this?
Start with the end in mind. You need to know where you want to reach. Every morning that we wake up, we are exercising our choice. The destiny is decided. The results are known that I'm going to win. Life of a goalkeeper is something which has always intrigued me.
When you come into a stadium, this is the highest level of pressure.
When I set out to do something, I decide in my mind that failure is not an option.
What you feel very strongly about, those are the stories to tell.
I have a mind which is absolutely restless.
Mind and body are entangled sensations.
That brings me back to golf. It's an amazing game.
This is not a perfect game. You only learn from them.
If you have a formula, to a success, then you can replicate it.
I feel this is my first step. I'm starting now.
Winner is first born in the mind. I think, therefore I am. We are all about our mind.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Hello and welcome, I'm Suyash Maheshwari and you are watching Last Chick here on News 9, where we break down the day's action on Dalal Street. And Indian markets, they kicked off the final week of financial year 2024 on a muted note, with Nifty falling about 92 points on a day-on-day basis. Overall, it was a quiet session for the markets. Nifty moved in a tight range of about 126 points, but the majority of action that took place in a much tighter range of about 40-50 points. And while the headliners, they ended with cuts of about 0.5%, there were a few silver linings that one can perhaps draw from today's trading session. One, Nifty managed to defend 22,000 on a closing basis. This, by the way, more than anything else should uplift sentiment, as 22,000 is a crucial psychological level for the markets. Second, Nifty has managed to defend the 50-day moving average placed at around 21,950 mark. Now, this is a crucial moving average since Nifty has held above it since November 2023. It only slipped below it for a couple of trading sessions during the recent market correction. And in fact, the 50 DMA actually coincided with the day's low. So, for traders, more than anything, it should provide a crucial support. And I mean, for us to say that there could be a perhaps trend reversal, 21,710, I think that's a more important trend deciding level, and if the market should consolidate, if not rise from here on, that level is key for the bulls. Third, look at the broader markets. The shakeout seems to be finally coming to an end. Remember, up till last week, in fact up till midweek last week, the broader markets, they were reeling under a fair bit of pressure. Both indices had fallen in double digits from their recent peak, but not only have they reversed course, they have reversed it strongly. Look at the small cap and the mid cap index. They are currently about 5 to 7% off their recent low. So a very strong recovery that we are seeing playing out in the broader markets. But that said, the overall mood of the market, because it's a truncated week, Friday will be off because of Good Friday and Easter holidays, and we have a bunch of expiries lined up also. This time of the year, a lot of seasonality impact is also there, because there's something called tax harvesting, where traders like to book losses to offset some of the gains that they have made in the long-term position. So a little bit of that also takes place, and perhaps we are seeing that also play out in the market. But with that, let's also bring on board Mr. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, Group Chairman at IndiTrade Capital. Thank you for joining us on News 9, sir. Season greetings to you and your family. And the last time we spoke, sir, it was just about the policy decision from the Fed. And, that came out, no rate cut as was expected. But the commentary from Mr. Jerome Powell is sounding more dovish now. And I mean, they are still expecting 3 rates cut this calendar year. So, pretty much, what's your takeaway from Fed's decision, and I think more importantly, how might that influence RBI's upcoming policy decision in April?
Well, as far as US Fed is concerned, Suyash, I think I'm very clear they are on the right track. I think US definitely is looking towards a soft landing. It has been a pretty kind of robust set of economic data which is coming out from US on a regular basis. I think that gives the Fed chair confidence to come out with dovish statements like what he did. The market was worried that he will talk about only 2 cuts in the calendar year, but I think he talked about 3 cuts possible, and he was definitely dovish. And I think there is a strong basis for that. As far as India is concerned, I think while it has to take cues from US Fed because we have to maintain the rupee dollar parity at least.
Right.
But the fact remains that we have the food inflation, which is a bit sticky, and one has to probably look at the trajectory and the prediction of monsoon in a bit more clearer way before RBI will take probably the step of cutting interest rates. So my view is probably RBI will be carefully watching the data coming out and the predictions around monsoon before they go ahead and announce some kind of cut.
So no rate cut in April, sir, because I mean, I feel like RBI could not be probably in a hurry to cut rates. I mean, that could be, to keep the bond yields high, because if you look at it, I mean, especially ahead of India's inclusion in the JP Morgan index starting June of this year and Bloomberg index starting Jan of next year, because the spread between the 10-year in US and the 10-year in India, it's currently at about 280 basis points. Before COVID, sir, it used to be at around 450, 500 odd levels in terms of BPS. Could that be one of the reasons?
Obviously, all this will play in the minds of RBI, and I think the kind of inflows we are seeing in government securities from global funds is significant, and this is bound to increase even more with the inclusions, as you outlined, coming in the near future. So under the circumstances, I think RBI will have to be mindful of the interest rate differential between India and US on a continuous basis and maintain that some kind of parity, some kind of balance in that. But I still believe that while that will be one factor, the principal factor guiding RBI will definitely be the trajectory of the inflation on the back of predictions of monsoon.
All right, but shifting focus to the day-on-day market action, I mean, sir, look at the broader markets. They have staged a solid recovery since last week, specifically the mid-caps. I mean, the mid-cap index is up about 5.5% from the recent low. It has retraced, over 50% of what was lost in that 2-week shakeout. I mean, also it's a much smaller universe compared to the small caps. There are only about 150 stocks in the mid-cap space, and it's well owned by mutual fund houses. Do you think that, there is still money to be made here in the mid-cap space?
No, absolutely. Money to be made in mid-cap, money to be made in large cap, and even select small cap. I think one has to look at slightly a longer term view, take a slightly longer term view for the market. There are stocks which have significant opportunity for upward movement. There is a significant tailwind as far as Indian economy is concerned, and domestic economy facing stocks and businesses should do well in the near future. I think that is the story of India. Now, obviously, there was some exuberance in the market, and at some point in time or the other, that does get taken off. And that's what pretty much was happening. Some correction in small, mid, and even large cap was par for the course, and that's what happened.
All right, sir. And what's your take on the small cap space? A much wider space. 95% of the Indian market is small caps. But, any particular sector or theme that you would say to avoid, at least for the time being, let the dust settle, let valuations become more reasonable?
Well, I think it's very difficult to pick up a sector that way, because there are multiple sectors which are looking good. But a couple of things which one needs to wait and watch is, one is specialty chemicals and chemicals space. I think there is a lot of headwind as far as the global markets are concerned for this particular segment, and it is generally avoidable, unless they are into CSM, custom synthesis manufacturing, or some other kind of specialized chemical processing. It is better to avoid chemicals at this stage. The other segment which I will probably be a little careful is consumer themes, because rural consumption hasn't picked up in spite of all what we have been saying for some time, and the chances of them picking up may not be that bright unless the monsoon predictions are good. Let's wait and watch on consumer theme stocks as well.
All right, consumer themed stocks and specialty chemicals, maybe avoid that for now. But sir, we are drawing curtains on financial year 2024. In just a couple of weeks from now, the fourth quarter report card of India Inc. will start trickling in. What are your broader expectations? Do you expect more of the same? Because, I mean, poor volume growth, as you pointed out, considering sluggish consumption, especially in the rural segment of the market. And also, do you foresee margin expansion given, you know, the operational efficiencies the companies have been able to achieve over the course of the year, and the input cost that also has been falling, right?
So I think you're absolutely right. I think as far as top line is concerned, it will be a bit sluggish, but the margins will probably expand predominantly on the back of input cost price reduction. The operational efficiencies and other cost measures have already been taken by India Inc. I think the gains now will come from raw material price reduction. So you will find that lot of these sectors which consume let's say metals or let's say coal or let's say even other type of chemicals, they will benefit because of the raw material prices coming down, and their margins will expand in Q4.
All right, and sir, before we let you go, got to talk about IT stocks because they are reeling under a fair bit of pressure. On Friday, the Nifty IT index fell about 2%, over 2% in fact, and even today a 0.6% cut. Now, all of this began after, Accenture downgraded its revenue target, and the last time, sir, it happened, we saw major decline in stock prices. Do you foresee the same this time as well, or the valuations are attractive enough that maybe the fall isn't as great as it was last time around?
Well, two things, Suhash. I think Accenture is a bellwether that way, and they come first with their guidance. So this is unfortunate as far as overall IT sector is concerned, and definitely the market will take cues from Accenture prediction. Now we'll have to wait and watch and see what our leading IT companies, particularly Infosys and TCS, talks about during their earnings management meeting. One has to see what their predictions are. But having said that, you are absolutely right to say that the valuations as far as Indian IT is concerned has already become reasonable, particularly in the large cap side. And under the circumstances, I don't see much downside from here on. Whereas if the predictions and if Indian IT management commentary is bullish, probably you will get to see an upside.
And what about banks? I mean, we have been talking about it extensively over the months. When will, the banking sector, especially the private segment of the market, when will that come out of the woods? But, clearly the stock prices or the sentiment is not improving over there. What do you think is, weighing on this particular segment, and especially this large cohort of private banks?
Well, I think one thing which is weighing is that the deposit mobilization is significantly lagging, and that does impact loan growth. And if they have to, under the circumstances, if they have to mobilize more and more deposit, they have to give higher rate of interest on those deposits, which will in turn eat into the margins. I think that's a dilemma which the private sector banks are facing at this stage. And that has been, one of the big question marks as far as their future valuation is concerned. The second point, which is also bugging the street, is that probably they have reached a stage where the credit cost in future will start going up once again. Right. There is a limit up to which you can bring down credit cost, and beyond that it starts again going up. So have we reached that stage or not is the second question. The third thing, which again to an extent does plague public sector bank, is that the operational efficiencies and the supposed catching up with private peers, is it for real beyond a level, and do they actually deserve valuation which is more closer to private sector rivals? I think these are the three big questions which the market is grappling with, and I think the jury is still out. Let's see what the Q4 results show.
All right, let's see what the Q4 report card holds for bank. But A lot of questions need to be answered. 3 have been put out by Mr. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay. But sir, always great insights from you. Thank you for giving us time here on News 9. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Last Take. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:45 with First Take. But up next, World Business Report.
Start with the end in mind. You need to know where you want to reach. Every morning that we wake up, we are exercising our choice. The destiny is decided. The results are known that I'm going to win. Life of a goalkeeper is something which is always